Anyway, the beef stroganoff there was unbelievable. It was probably horse.
Inspired by the adventures of our nurses, therapists, and techs, A Beer with Atlas is the only healthcare traveling, craft beer drinking podcast. Each week, we'll open a few beers, talk about the brewery and the style of beer, and then dive into some research curated specifically for each episode. In the end, we hope each one sounds like a conversation you'd have with your friends while enjoying a few cold ones.
Welcome to another episode of A Beer with Atlas. I'm Rich.
I'm Brian.
America.
Dolan, that was last week.
Oh, sorry.
That was last week.
He's on a fireworks high still.
I guess, yeah.
I still have on my fingers, so
That's good.
I must have done something right.
Yeah, 4th of July could last all of July, so
Yeah.
I would argue and say that Christmas starts on the 5th of July.
I'm
with you, Dolan. I'm with you.
Man, but then you skip over Halloween and Thanksgiving and those are good holidays.
There's room for that too.
Well, you got to have a pre-chorus to the hook, right? So
that's true.
I guess
I'm not a huge 4th of July guy. I kind of used to be maybe a little bit, but then I got a dog for the first time, and then you couldn't take the dog out for a week or two here in Omaha.
Yeah,
my neighbors back in the day would just blow up everything. And now I have a kid and a dog, still the same dog. She can't hear the fireworks anymore, but he can, and it's not great. So, yeah, I can take or leave 4th of July. It's always hot as balls. It's always too hot.
Always.
And when you look like this, you don't need to be outside. It's too hot.
Here's the thing: when I was growing up in small town, 4th of July is so much different than here in Omaha. Sometimes I wonder if it's fireworks or gunshots. I don't know.
Yeah. Sometimes it's both.
Sometimes it's both. Sometimes,
How else are you supposed to light the fireworks? Shoot them. America.
But as you get older, I think you find different ways to celebrate. And that being said, I go back to the small town. I got to watch the Derby, the Demolition Derby.
There you go.
Drink some beers. And, I baked in 100-degree weather, but worth it.
Yeah. It's worth it. Just don't get a sunburn. You'll end up looking like your shirt.
Yeah, true. Yeah, Husker Nation. All right. So this week, like we teased last week, we're going back to, Brian, is this the oldest or is Yuengling still the oldest?
Well, we're splitting hairs because Yuengling is older, but this one, they say they're craft brewery.
Yeah.
But they're owned by somebody bigger, and Yuengling is still independently owned. So it's just semantics. But they've been around a long time.
A long time.
Years longer than some.
Way, way, way long. So Anchor Brewing, and we're drinking the Liberty Ale. I had more fun researching this one than I think in a while.
Well, there's a lot to research.
It's just so much history.
Yeah. Most of the breweries we talk about are they were founded in 2012 or 2018 or nothing that has this amount of time in it.
Founded in.
Look at that bad boy.
Oh, it's beautiful. This is beer colored beer right here. If you say when it's my Jenny's uncle, when we go to wherever or whatever, what would you like to drink? I want a beer. Well, what kind? The beer flavored one. Right? I mean, he is as old school as you can possibly get. If you handed him this, he would be like, "That's it. That's beer. That's beer color right there."
Yep. He probably. Well, we'll see.
Yep. Brewery was founded in 1896, and here's where my research comes in because I thought this ties back to the Midwest, and I didn't know any of this. So founded in 1896. Things happened, and we'll kind of work through there. But the important part was it was purchased by Frederick Lewis Maytag III in 1965. And if that name sounds familiar, it should. He's the great.
Yeah.
Yeah, great grandson of the Maytag Corporation.
There's still a Maytag factory like in Amana, Iowa or something like that, isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah. So the ties back to Iowa are pretty deep here. Like they really go in. If you we'll touch on this a little bit. If you've ever seen or ordered Maytag blue cheese, that comes from a specific farm, the Maytag farm in Newton, Iowa. So probably, I don't know if it's the most popular or most famous, but it's kind of like in blue cheese circles, it's like calling it a Kleenex, right? That's a facial tissue. Nope, that's a Kleenex. Yeah. Well, this is Maytag blue cheese is blue cheese. That's just how it goes.
Well, since I'm anti-blue cheese, I've never heard that before.
Why? I'm gonna stop recording right now.
Why are you anti-blue cheese?
Well, it ties back to my white foods thing that I had kind of coming up.
With the mayo
and it's
episode.
Stinky and skunky and moldy on purpose, which is weird, and you eat it anyway, and I don't know. No thanks.
Blue cheese is the only way. Okay, blue cheese is the only way to have your buffalo wings. It can be eaten alone, and it's the best cheese to go in salads. Hands down.
I can do it in moderation. It's one of the old guy things. It's an old guy thing. So weird. That's weird that Dolan likes it, but it's one of those, like, as you get older, you learn to appreciate things like blue cheese.
I must not be old enough yet.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
I will say that if you get like the blue cheese like dressing, not a fan. Like
you want the crumbly.
I want that. Stuff. I want the crumble. Yeah, I don't want the ranch pretending to be blue cheese. Or whatever.
They probably sell that at the Maytag farm, I'm guessing.
They do. Yeah. So it moved from. So he bought it in 1965. Fritz Maytag bought it in 1965, and saved it from closing, and has since then become his name is synonymous with the what do they call him, the grandfather of microbrews. So he started that microbrew kind of revolution, and all the way back in 65.
I wonder what made him buy it.
So there was a whole thing, and I didn't get into it. It was they had to diversify a little bit, and he believed that the Maytag family needed to diversify. And this was a way for him to diversify.
We need a brewery in San Francisco. Done.
Yeah. Yep. There's this old brewery. We can buy this place. He moved it to its current location in 1979. It's one of the last remaining breweries to produce California common beer. And we'll get into what that means here in a little bit.
Okay.
I had no idea, and I thought it was fascinating. Kind of where that came from or whatever. They actually own that trademark. It's now known as steam beer, like steam engine beer.
Yeah.
Steam beer. And they own that trademark. So Anchor owns that trademark. Fritz Maytag was born in Newton, Iowa. And that's not too far from us. That's, maybe it's on the other side of the state, but not too far. He's a member of the board of directors of the Maytag Dairy Farms, which is where Maytag blue cheese is made. He's considered the father of microbreweries because of what he did for Anchor. He was also, and this is interesting, and this is how it ties back to Atlas. So one of our interns, Caitlin Ryan, who's Steve Ryan's oldest daughter, goes to Grinnell College in Iowa. Grinnell College is located there in Newton, or close to Newton, and he is a trustee for Grinnell College even to this day. He still is a trustee. So he was born in 1937, so that he's old.
Yeah,
but he's still kicking. He trustee because it's close to Maytag Farms. At one point, and this is where it ties back to me, which I thought was super interesting. At one point, he recruited Steve Jobs to be a trustee at Grinnell. So that's how, the connection's back to San Francisco, but then there's this little college, and the college has all kinds of history to it. The dude that started Intel graduated from college, graduated from Grinnell.
Really?
Yeah. Warren Buffett has been doing all of Grinnell's investments for 30 plus years. Like there's all kinds of really like big names tied back to this college.
That's well, I guess San Francisco is kind of like, or at least it used to be like the tech innovator hub, right? And that's still like a lot of what's there is like those sorts of companies and like video game companies. I remember when I was in San Francisco, a lot of that stuff. So that's kind of cool.
Yep. In 2008, he won the James Beard Foundation's Lifetime Achievement Award for what he did with Anchor Brewing. So James Beard, I mean, if you're going to go to a nice restaurant.
Yeah, that's the name. Yeah, that's cool.
Huh. And so he got it for what he did with Anchor Brewing. And it's been through some buys and sells. He sold it in 2010. He sold off it was purchased by the Griffin Group, which is an investment and consulting company focused on beverage and alcoholic brands. So alcohol brands. The brewery became one facet of Anchor Brewing and Distilleries LLC portfolio. So they're doing a bunch of different stuff now. I can't say that I've ever seen any other Anchor like rum or vodka or anything like that, but they say it's part of it. And then in August of 2017, it was acquired by Sapporo. So it's now owned by Sapporo. So only for $85 million, which I thought was a small.
That seems like, yeah.
It doesn't seem like a lot.
It's kind of cool. He had it for almost 50 years.
Yeah.
Like he had it into where craft beer was booming. That's pretty cool.
It's an interesting read, just kind of going back through the history or whatever. So California Common Beer, I thought this was super fun. What's a California Common? No idea. Did you have any, Brian, do you know what a California Common Beer is?
No, give us some knowledge.
So it's a steam beer. So they changed that. They made it its own, right? They made it, it's called a steam beer. Very effervescent, which I think you can get that out of this, right? I mean, it has a very effervescent kind of flavor or like profile when you drink it, by fermenting lager yeast at warm ale yeast fermentation temperatures. And at first they did this because they didn't have access to ice.
Yeah.
Like it was just the climate they were in, and they didn't have access to ice.
Yeah. Before refrigeration. I mean, we're talking a long time ago. Yeah.
Right. So like as much as you see like Coors talks about cold filtering and, or whatever, this was fermented at a higher temperature. And so that's what a steam beer is. Historically, steam beers are produced in California and in the East at the James River Steam Brewery in Richmond, Virginia. So both sides of the country.
Yeah, weird.
It's kind of strange. I mean, they were very specific about that one brewery in Richmond. And it was from the mid-19th century through the mid-20th century. A modern California common beer, a competition category that still exists at beer festivals, includes steam beers such as Anchor Steam Beer. So this is a California common beer.
I think I've seen one in Colorado, like a small brewery.
Interesting.
One. But you have to do things. I don't know. It's like innovation. It was like the beginning of innovation, right? They couldn't do it the normal way, so they had to do it with what they could there. And now there's a whole beer category 100 years later. Pretty cool.
They figured it out. Yeah. It's somehow look, the necessity is the mother of innovation. Isn't that right? Isn't that what they say?
That's what they say.
Yeah.
And they talk about it on the bottle there.
On the label too?
Yeah, they talk about fermenting yeast, pure water, and the simple natural methods that reflect our exceptional respect for the ancient art of brewing. It is dry hopped, a classic ale tradition, and slowly completes its fermentation in sealed vats in our cellars. This unique process creates Liberty Ale's distinctive bouquet and uncommonly delicate, entirely natural carbonation.
Weird.
So I don't know.
If you notice, look in your glass and look at the bubbles. They should be really small.
Tiny.
Smaller
That's from that. because a lot of places are like pumping CO2 in on purpose to carbonate their beers. And what Dolan just read, that's how they do it. So they're doing it naturally in a big, long, like stainless steel metal. It looks like a bathtub, basically, with a lid on it. And that it's almost more like champagne bubbles. So you're not going to get dryness like champagne, but the bubbles will kind of be similar to that. And that's one of the only breweries I've ever known about that does it. And it's because they've been doing it that way for 100 years. So
wow.
That's why the bubbles look differently in this beer.
Well, yeah, and they say that while we're on the label, on the other side of the anchor, it says San Francisco's famous Liberty Ale was first brewed on the 18th of April, 1975, to celebrate the 200th anniversary of Paul Revere's historic ride. It is virtually handmade by the brewers of Anchor Steam in one of the smallest and most traditional breweries in the world. Liberty Ale is made with the finest barley malt, fresh, whole hops. And then, so then it continues on to what I read earlier. Whole hops, top fermenting yeast, pure water, and then so on and so forth.
There you go.
I recall when I was when we did our research, and then when I was reading the name escapes me, and it shouldn't. The dude started Sierra Nevada. I can't think of his last name. They refer to him by his last name. I can't even.
Okay.
Anyway, that guy. He would go down to Anchor and either buy old parts or equipment, or he would just watch, and they just let him in, and he's like, yeah, whatever you want, you can watch, and we're not using that anymore. You can have it if you can fix it. And so that was one of the things, like, he liked to fix his own stuff. Like, instead of hiring a dude to fix his refrigeration unit, he would take refrigeration classes at night to fix his coolers or whatever.
Ken Grossman.
That's it. Yeah. Another tie-in that these guys have, which is interesting that you say that, and I'm sure it's because of this. They use, like Dolan said before, whole cone hops. Cascade is the hop that they use. So that's not a pellet. It's the whole thing, just like on the label. It looks like a pine cone. And they throw all those in there, especially at dry hop. And it takes a ton of those to really make an impact, right?
Yeah.
They were the first brewery to use this hop specifically. And
Cascade, because Cascade is pretty widely used now.
It is now, but it wasn't in 1975 when they started using it. But you know who was the biggest user of Cascade hops is Sierra Nevada. It's in their pale ale.
There you go.
So when that's a classic that we've had on this episode, that's Cascade hops all day long. So they kind of innovated that together at the same time. These guys used it, and then Sierra Nevada picked up on it, and they're still the main users of Cascade hops. One of the cool things about this brewery is they're really tied to the old school. Like, you're not going to see a whole lot of pineapple hazy IPAs coming out of this place. Their beer styles are 100 years old, but they're interesting because they're not even like what we're used to. It's not like German stuff. It's like their own California stuff that's been around since the gold mining days. And that's just how they make beer. And then that's how they still make beer. And it's pretty neat. It's a lot of styles out of there that are malty. So you, even this is technically an IPA, but it's very malty. This is the first IPA that was ever brewed after Prohibition.
Really?
For a commercial. And that wasn't until 75.
Huh.
So they're one of the oldest. We've talked about Pliny, being like the grandpa of the double IPA. These guys were the ones that really started that California trend of hoppy, dry hopped beers for bitterness and for aroma. That's where it comes from.
And I don't want to disparage it at all, and I don't think this does, but it reminds me of it's a maltier Miller High Life, like the champagne of beers, right?
Well,
that's so weird. I was gonna say Miller, like a darker Miller Light, but yeah, that makes sense.
There's you get the effervescent, like they talked about, there is good carbonation, but it has, if you took the champagne of beers and you made it more malty, this is almost what I think it would be. Maybe.
Yeah. Like I can see in your glass, I've got mine. It's got what they call lacing, real good lacing. So when you drink it, excuse me, there's like some white residue basically left over, and that's a good sign. It's a good sign your glass is clean, Dolan and Rich.
Yeah.
This should be a copper color, which it kind of is. Mine looks different than what yours looks like on that computer camera, but I know what mine looks like. This has no rice or corn. None of their beers have rice, corn, or any adjuncts. So they're doing it the old school way. Malt and grain. That's it.
That's crazy to me, because I was going to say that it tastes like the what is the beer that we had in the Dad Beers episode that was made from the corn grain?
Grain belt.
Grain belt.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like that, but maltier, I think.
Yeah.
Let's see. One of the other things I wanted to talk about real quick while we're talking about old school stuff and Cascade hops is that hop was cultivated or created at Oregon State University in the late 60s. And it was finally released to the public in 71. And it took them 4 years to actually use it in a beer. So it had been around for a little bit. One of the reasons that they use it in whole cone form is it doesn't store well. So you have to get it and use it basically right away. You can't hang on to it. Whereas like pellets and stuff now, what you do, especially as home brewer or even like a commercial brewery, you'll have that in the freezer. You keep that frozen. But whole cone hops don't stick around very well, and especially this kind, it just doesn't do well after a while. So you've got to use it kind of right away. What I wanted to also touch base with on this was there's a hop called Liberty hops. It's not in this beer, but it's similar to this. It originates from Hallertau, which we've talked about before, Hallertau hops. And that one also is one of those where you can't store it for long, especially with these whole cone. There's not a whole lot of places that use whole cone hops. They're expensive. And it takes a lot of them to really make a difference. But the plus side of them is the oils are very, you just crush it in your hand. So you'll see like on a Sam Adams commercial, he's like rubbing them together, that thing. That's what releases that oil and eventually the aroma and the flavor. But most breweries don't even get close to whole cone hops. So this is probably I would guess the biggest brewery, or at least has the most distribution that actually uses that. They have a lot of different styles of beer. They have a really good barley wine that comes out every year. They have a Christmas beer, the Anchor Christmas beer that changes the recipe changes every year. And they've been doing that one for like 100 years. Sometimes you'll see it in like a Magnum, like a bottle this big,
right?
Has a Christmas tree on it. All their bottles are this size, which is a weird shape. It fits good in my hand. I like it.
It's still 12 ounces though, right? I mean,
it's just a little bit wider. It kind of reminds me of like a Michelob bottle, if that makes sense.
Old school Michelob, yes.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I have that's history related. That's not what you talked about, Rich. But I do have quite a bit of stuff because it's so old. I wanted to kind of get into the country, the United States, and what was happening in the United States when this place opened. So we'll get into some of that now. 1896, Utah was admitted to the Union. It was the 45th state. And there was a thing in New York called the Raines Law that came through their state Supreme Court, which basically said on Sunday, the only place you can buy a beer is at a hotel or a motel. Probably a hotel back then. I don't think they made motels, but you couldn't get it at the store. You can go to the bar. Sunday was kind of dry, except if you're staying at a hotel, you could have a beer.
Weird.
There was another court case called Plessy versus Ferguson. This was a Supreme Court case, and it upheld separate but equal. Yeah. So basically, racial segregation was okay with the Supreme Court in 1896. Here's one that Rich might know about. The Dow Jones was created. Took 12 industrial stocks and combined them up, and that became the stock exchange, right? So as we know it now, the Dow Jones was created 1896.
Awesome.
The first Ford vehicle was created. It was a quadricycle. So it had like a little motor on it, but it was like a bike frame that had 4 wheels, and it went. And that was the first Ford vehicle, which was released in 1896. Close to here, Lincoln, Nebraska, Omaha area, William Jennings Bryan was nominated to be the Democratic candidate for president. I think he ran 2 or 3 times and he never won. But Bryan LGH Hospital is named after him, and I know we staff that down in Lincoln. William McKinley did win the presidency. The song called Stars and Stripes Forever was, I guess, written by John Philip Sousa. So that's like a American standard patriotic track that was created in 1896. The New York Telephone Company started. It's still around today, but it was more like for telegraphs, but they called it the Telephone Company. But there was a telephone back then. And then here's some people that were born. Harry Winston. I don't know if you know that name. Harry Winston Jewelers. So it's like he was like a gem trader and one of the very first like designers of jewelry as we know it. So now everything is on TV, Kay and Zales and all those. This was like the first guy to really design rings, I guess. Harry Winston. That company's still around. F. Scott Fitzgerald was born, author of The Great Gatsby. Percy Spencer. You might not know his name, but you know his invention. He invented the microwave. So burritos, leftover pizza, microwave bacon. Thank you, Percy. And then Ira Gershwin. So he is the brother of the famous Gershwins, and he was the lyricist. So his brother came up with the music, and he wrote the lyrics for songs and movies such as A Star is Born, the Judy Garland version, the very first one. He wrote the lyrics for a song called I've Got Rhythm, and Let's Call the Whole Thing Off. That's the one with tomato, potato. I don't think anybody says potato, except maybe Ira Gershwin did. So
maybe he did. You never know.
1896.
Did Homeboy hang himself in the original Stars Born 2? I don't remember. Did that happen? Or
not a hanging, no.
But he took care of himself, though.
I think yes, in that
maybe?
one, and then not the Barbra Streisand one. That was different, the '70s version. But yeah,
I'm man enough to say I like that movie. I don't mind it.
Oh, it was
not
great.
bad. Yeah,
it was great.
I haven't seen any versions of it.
You need to watch the most recent one with Lady Gaga. It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it gave me a new respect for her singing. Like I really enjoyed her singing jazz with Tony Bennett. Like they did an album together, and I really liked that. And then when I've seen her do, like even at the Super Bowl when she sang, she did, like, her voice is amazing.
Yes.
And when she's not putting on a pop show, it was even better. So like in this movie, I was pretty impressed. I really enjoyed it.
I like Lady Gaga's story, and that's a whole nother tangent, but yeah.
So what do we think about this? Does this stand up for an IPA for you guys?
It's interesting. If you were not tell me what it is, you just hand it to me and you say, this is a West Coast IPA, I would not argue with you at all.
Does it taste bitter to you? Like overwhelmingly bitter?
No. There's bitterness at the end. But
it's not.
It's just a nice bitterness.
It's definitely an aftertaste bitterness. Like after you swallow and you breathe out, that's when you get it. But I think I don't know. It's really good. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I do too.
For how long it's been made and just the history behind it, there's a complexity to it that I did not expect.
Yeah.
Maybe more so than Yingling. Like I like Yingling a lot.
Yeah.
Way more complex than Yingling.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I think this is a kind of beer that it's one that I've tried before, but it's also one that if you showed up to a party and there was people that drank beer, you could bring this and you would not be ashamed. It'd be something different. They probably haven't had it, or if they have, it's been a long time, just like me.
Yep.
But it just tastes good, They know what they're doing.
It really does. Like this seems like this seems like they're super proud of history. They're super proud of where they came from. And they're not, like you said, they're not going to be influenced by modern trends or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, this is their thing and this is what they do. And there's nothing wrong with that.
I'd like to go to their main brewery, tap room, tap house sort of thing.
Yep.
I've been to San Francisco a couple times, but I've never been to this place, and I'd like to.
I bet just the history, just in general, there is pretty thick, and I would like that a lot.
I think we talked about the show before, but there was a show called Brew Dogs on Esquire channel when that existed, and they made a beer here using the fog from San Francisco. So they made it with the head brewer of Anchor Steam to make a beer. All the liquid that they got for the beer had to come out of the fog from San Francisco. So they collected clouds basically and built like a water filtration system up on this hillside outside the Golden Gate Bridge, and all the water from the cloud and the fog collected in a pool, and that was how they used. So it was like purified water, and that was what they made the beer with these guys from this brewery. And then they fermented it in an open tank on top of the brewery, and that was how because that's how they used to do it in the 1860s, 1870s, 1880s. And now they had photos and stuff from the original brew house. And this was around the time of the gold rush. Is that right?
Yeah, I've got a whole like section here of just gold rush information.
Well, let's get into
I got to tell you though, Brian, that sounds, even though like, okay, so that's how they did it. How they did it there in the show sounds so like West Coast hippie to me. Like, it's just like, that's it. And that's not an insult at all. It just sounds like something they're going to do. Like, that's something that you do on the West Coast.
Well, for that show, they always made a way to make the beer. They tried to make something that would be similar to what the brewery that was hosting them would make, but then they would put a twist on it. Like, I saw one where they made basically a brew system that could sit on a raft, and they went down a river and brewed a beer while they were on a river. So you had to do like the physics and like making sure that your boil pot didn't tip on the water. Like, so it was like freestanding, and it had to like equally level itself out on no matter what. And this was just the challenge of this brewery, was to like make a beer with no water using only the clouds and the fog, because that's what San Francisco is known for. It was pretty cool. It was a kind of a fun show. I wish it was still on.
I need to go find those. Like, we looked at one or two episodes there on YouTube. I'd like to watch the rest of them just to kind of
and they make pretty good beer too, those guys.
So I went back and I did just a little bit like, okay, so let's go back to 1896 like you did, right? 2 years later, basketball was invented. Well, college basketball started at the University of Kansas, 1898.
You toot your horn there.
Okay. Whoop, 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 whoop. Home of college basketball, the home of basketball. It was invented before, but that's regardless.
Doesn't count.
It started in Lawrence, Kansas, on the campus of University of Kansas. Anyway, 2 years later. Before that, though, California Gold Rush was in full effect. And I clipped this out because I love slaughtering names here.
Okay.
And there's some good German names here for me to crush.
Well, I'm sure.
Yeah. So Anchor began during the California Gold Rush when Gottlieb, that's a great German name, Breckel, Brekle, Breckel?
I think Breckel, yeah.
Breckel arrived from Germany and began brewing in San Francisco. So he wasn't there for the gold.
Yeah,
he was just there for
beer to the gold.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Pickaxe salesman, right? I mean, who makes the most money during something like that? The dude selling a pickaxe, or this guy?
Yeah, the supplier,
Gottlieb, selling beer. So
that Breckel, Anchor makes a beer called Breckel's Brown. They still make today.
That's him. He started it. So yeah, someone needed to bake beer for these guys that are looking for gold all day long. He's the dude. In same year, Ernest Baruth, Baruth, and his son-in-law Otto, another very good German name, Otto Schneckel, Schinkel, Schneckel.
Okay.
Jr. So Otto Schneckel and his son-in-law Ernest Baruth bought an old brewery at 1431 Pacific Avenue and called it Anchor Brewing. The brewery burned old, yeah.
Huh.
So it existed, even that far back.
That's cool.
That brewery burned down in the fires that followed in the 1906 earthquake. So earthquake in 1906, burns down, and was rebuilt at a different location in 1907. So they took a little bit of time. They rebuilt it. No record of what Anchor did during Prohibition, though. I got some guesses.
Yeah, they made soda pop, probably.
Sure.
Root beer.
They did. They made hand sanitizer.
Yeah. And then they drank that hand sanitizer.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, in a bathtub, and then they all went blind. That's my favorite Homer Simpson when Homer tries the flaming Mo?
Yeah,
the flaming Homer.
The flaming Homer.
And he goes like this, like, nope, I'm not blind, so it must be okay. But then they resumed making the steam beer, which they called it steam beer even back then. After Prohibition was repealed, it was the only brewery still in operation in that area. So they had the market cornered. They were the only ones making beer. So probably because they never stopped making beer, quite honestly.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good idea.
Yep. However, the brewery burned down again within a year and was relocated one more time to the current location where it's at right now. So it's been plagued. It was early on plagued by fires. That like warm fermentation must have I don't know.
Warm, huh?
Maybe. I don't know.
Boy, people just don't really realize how dangerous fire used to be. Like whole cities burned down.
Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, and now it's just like, meh, whatever. Fire department will show up, I guess. But back then, like, your shit was gone.
Yes.
It was over. And like a lot of cities burned down many times.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, the roots of this brewery go all the way back to the gold rush, and just a bunch of thirsty dudes out looking for gold all day come back and they want to drink something, and they're drinking this beer right here.
Nice.
Like this is the beer that they're drinking. Maybe not as cold, I'm guessing. I'm guessing
no ice. Yeah, room temperature, but you take what you can get.
Oh yeah.
So what I've got left. Because the term liberty, you see it everywhere.
Sure.
So what I did was I did a little research on different companies and things that have liberty in the name. And we'll just, hit me with what your thoughts are, and then I'll save the best one for last. But I thought of the Liberty Bell.
Philadelphia?
I know the story of the Liberty Bell. I know it's in Philly. I know it has a crack in it.
Yep.
Why does it have a crack in it? I don't know.
I don't remember.
Hit it too hard? I'm not sure.
I've seen it twice. I've been there twice.
Okay.
And I think that they tell the story. I don't recall why.
Okay. So
yep.
Somebody help us out. Why is there a crack in it? They rang it so hard there's a crack. I don't know. Yes.
Maybe it was a fire and the fire cracked it.
Could have been.
Yeah. I just Googled it real fast.
Oh,
okay.
It says cast at London's Whitechapel Bell Foundry.
Yeah.
Arrived in Philadelphia in August 1752. Because the metal was too brittle, it cracked during a test strike and had to be recast twice.
Oh, boo. So it's just bad manufacturing.
It's bad
manufacturing. Famous because it's really old, and they've kept it. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company. Mm-hmm. Heard of that? Liberty. That commercial.
Mm-hmm.
They stand outside in that.
Yes.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Lady Liberty costume and.
I don't know if you guys seen this show Glow on Netflix.
Yep.
There's a character called Liberty Bell.
That's the gorgeous ladies of wrestling.
That's right. A great show. I love that show. Very good.
Our favorite podcaster, Mark Maron.
Mark Maron's in it. Yeah. There's a city called Liberty, Missouri.
Yep.
There's some breweries down there.
I staffed a number of nurses at the hospital there in Liberty, Missouri.
There you go. I did a little online sleuthing, and I found this thing called Liberty Dispensaries. I didn't get into it too much. They don't ship here. But yeah, Liberty Dispensaries.
Are they located in Colorado?
They are. Weird. There is a Liberty University.
Liberty University,
which is Division I.
Yeah.
They are the Liberty Flames. They're basically a Bible college.
Yeah.
And founded by Jerry Falwell Sr.
True.
In Lynchburg, Virginia.
Yes.
Now, they have a basketball team, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and I believe they've made it to the NCAA tournament at least once.
Yeah.
They may have won. They may have gotten the automatic bid because they won their conference.
Well, that's more wins in the tournament than Nebraska has. That's for sure.
Yeah, rough.
They're known as their mascot is Sparky the Eagle, so that's very American. And then the last one I wrote down was the Statue of Liberty. So I'm going to hit you with some Statue of Liberty facts. I've never been. Have you?
Nope.
Dolan?
Nope.
I think some of my family came through the old Ellis Island back in the day from Germany. The Otto family, as you were talking about earlier, that
Otto.
home. That's my mom's maiden name, last name. Statue of Liberty was a gift from Paris, France. And basically it was because they wanted France to stand up to Napoleon. So like, this is a monument to freedom, and America is the picture of freedom and democracy right now. Let's send them this big present, and then hopefully we will get inspired too. But it wasn't exactly free. They had to fund it. They had to pay for it. And most of the donations that came in were under $1, which was still a lot back then.
Yeah.
But it was like privately paid for. And then like the last few $1,000s, some of the businesses donated. But most of it was paid for by citizens like you and Dolan and I with, 60 cents at a time.
This goes back to, so this actually came up a few weeks back to the Ryan family again. The Ryan family, this is weird. Maybe this is what they do on the weekends. I don't know. They were arguing about whether or not the Statue of Liberty was given to us from France as sort of a thumbing your nose sort of thing at the English, right? Because France and England, mortal enemies, right? I mean, that's Hatfields McCoy's kind of deal, right? And so France, Steve's argument was France gave us as with everything else, or whatever. Part of it was, here you go, America. We love that you broke off and you made the, from the Brits and you embarrassed them and whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That might have been some of it. Maybe. That's not what I found in my research, but whatever.
I think so.
I'm not going to argue with the big boss.
Yeah. I think the French are just spiteful enough to do that in addition to everything else, right?
Okay.
They're like, oh, this is a byproduct of that? Yep. There you go.
Send it.
Maybe.
It was sent.
Just send it.
Just send it. It was sent over in like 25 huge crates on a boat that almost sank in a huge storm, so we almost didn't get to have it.
Oh.
In 1916, which is middle of World War I, 2 German guys get into the Statue of Liberty, and they bring a bomb, like some dynamite, and they're trying to basically blow it up. And they do blow it up. They're up in the arm that's holding the torch.
Yeah. And
since then, that's been closed to the public because they did enough damage that structurally they can't open it. They don't feel safe about opening it. And so since then, so almost 100 years, well, I guess it's been 100 years, you can't go into that arm of the statue.
Wow.
So the statue itself is steel, and then it's coated with like a coating or a blanket of copper, which is as thin as 2 pennies together. That's the coating. So what we're seeing is as thick or as thin as 2 pennies stacked on top of each other. That's how much copper is on the shell of the iron thing. And when it was built, it was the biggest iron structure in the world. Took like a couple of months to put it all together. The waistline of Lady Liberty, as she's called, is 35 feet. She weighs 225 tons. Let's see what else. She has like a crown on that has points. And there's 7 points or 7 rays, and that represents the continents. So liberty is felt in all the continents of the world because of that on her head. There's 354 steps from the base to the head of Statue of Liberty.
Okay.
Which seems like That doesn't seem like very many.
That's not very many.
Yeah.
No.
But they must be huge steps. I don't know. She's a big gal.
I guess I only have 13 steps from my basement to the main level. So,
but that's too much, isn't it? 13? Like, you're winded. I am.
I get tired. Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah, right. I'm not climbing 354.
No.
The actual name is Liberty Enlightening the World. That's the name of the statue. And she was designed after Libertas, which is the Roman god of freedom. She gets annually between 4 and 5 million visitors a year, which is a lot. The Eiffel Tower gets more, almost 10 million. And then I think was either Big Ben or the Tower of London gets like 4.5 to 3.5. So a little bit less than the Statue of Liberty. The island it used to be on was called Ellis Island, but now it's known as Liberty Island. So that was changed, I think, in the late 50s, early 60s. They changed the name of that.
Oh.
In 1986, they did a full restoration of the Statue of Liberty. And the outside of the torch is thin sheets of 24 karat gold. So that's why it stands out a little bit. I will send you guys a picture. I just found it on Reddit actually yesterday of the Statue of Liberty and it's an illustration, not a picture, but it's what it would have looked like when they put it up to what it is now. Because it's copper on the outside. So it would have been the same color almost as this beer.
Yeah.
When it was first put up. And then it breaks down the oxidization of the water because it's on the waterfront and the salt water and the air and all that stuff. And it changes, the patina changes color. So it starts out as a darker green and then it ends up being a lighter green. I'll send that to you guys later, but I thought that was kind of cool. Shows basically after 50 years, the color hasn't changed much. So in 86, they didn't put new copper on it or anything. They just kind of fixed it on the inside.
That's what I was going to ask you, because you were always taught that in school too, that when the Statue of Liberty was put up, it had the copper color to it.
Yeah.
And then after some time it turned,
Yeah. And that's why, you'll see at least there's a historic neighborhood in Lincoln and some places around here too, but they've had copper shingles you'll see sometimes on roofs or copper gutters. It starts out that coppery maroonish color almost, and then it ends up being like a lightish green, which I think looks kind of cool over time.
Yeah.
Could they go polish it and get the copper color back?
I think chemically it's changed. It's the structure itself is different now. So you'd have to almost have brand new stuff, but that would look weird, wouldn't it?
It would kind of look weird.
Because I don't think there's any color photos of it. I don't think that was a thing back then.
No.
Nobody ever has recorded what it looked like before, but it would be weird if it was brown.
Yeah.
I've seen the picture that you're talking about from Reddit, and
is there one? Oh, the one you're talking about. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. The one on the Reddit thread. It's still kind of, it is weird looking at it. If it was still that copper color,
The last thing about the Statue of Liberty that I know that I read about, I guess, is it was dedicated in 1886. So that was the first time people could go there. And back then you could go all the way to the top. Then in 2001, we had, 9/11 happened and it was closed. You couldn't get in there at all. And that was closed for almost 5 years. And now it's very limited as how many people can go in at a time. There's certain areas you can't go. You definitely can't go to the top or the head or anything anymore. It's kind of like, I think you stop halfway through like the chest part from what I could tell on a diagram. So you can't get to the tippy top, and not like, what is it, X-Men 2? You can't look out the top of the crown or whatever. But
I was thinking more G.I. Joe the movie, where like the opening scene is them fighting Cobra at the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, nice.
And they're all over
American.
that thing. Yeah, that's totally American.
So those are my little factoids about the Statue of Liberty. I don't know if I'd want to go there. I mean, I guess they have one, and I've seen it in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
New York. That's cool. That's good enough for me.
I kind of feel the same way about the Eiffel Tower. Like, I've been to the top of the one in Vegas. I really don't need to go to Paris.
I've been to the one in Paris, and that was pretty cool, but man, was it crowded. And this is a good tie-in, Rich, actually, because this is very American.
Yep.
So I was there with my family. This would have been in 2000, so right before 2001.
Okay.
And we were in Paris. We were there for 2 days, and we went off and got some dinner and this was after sightseeing all day.
Mm-hmm.
We saw like the biggest mall in the world at the time. It was like 2 city blocks. It was huge.
Okay.
And then we went into the Eiffel Tower. And then after that, we went to this little mom and pop restaurant. And for some reason, it was stuck in I guess she was like my step aunt. So my aunt, we'll just call her my aunt for the story.
Sure.
She had it in her mind that French people ate horses, right? I don't know. Is that a stereotype? Maybe. Something she heard. French people eat horses.
Mm.
I'm 21 and I'm kind of already, I'm embarrassed at the fam. I don't really want to be there with them. I'm doing my thing. And we go into this restaurant and she's like, yeah, just make sure you don't serve us any horse meat. That's what that's to start out the restaurant experience. Oh, and how come there's no ice? We got that too. No ice in the water. And please don't serve us horse meat. That was when I was a little bit embarrassed to be an American. Had they had horse meat back there, they should have served it. They should have.
That would have served her right.
Yep, I agree.
I may or may not have eaten horse meat one time, and actually we went back and I ate it a second time.
Nice.
Don't know.
Where were you?
This was Kemerovo, Siberia. When we were adopting Maddox, there was a place. So there was a place that we would go every morning for breakfast. It was called the Traveler's Cafe. So if you go back to last week's episode, we talked about like how coffee is a destination, not a to-go thing in other countries. That's what this place was. It was called Traveler's Cafe. It had the best Cafe Americano coffee I've ever had ever. And these delicious warm muffins. Anyway, the people that worked there were younger, like you would imagine working at a coffee shop. Yeah. But they liked to practice their English on when Americans would come in.
Sure, yeah.
So then we would practice our Russian on them, it was a weird kind of back and forth. The one knew enough English to say, okay, if you want really good food, you want authentic borscht, you want
red
that
cabbage stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a place across the street, go over there. And it reminded me of kind of when you would go to an old school kind of restaurant here in the States, like an old school, what do you call it?
Deli?
A steakhouse.
Okay.
The restaurant was like an old school steakhouse with wood on the walls and wagon wheels and, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, the beef stroganoff there was unbelievable. It was probably horse.
The horse stroganoff. Delicious.
I had it twice. We went there twice. I ordered it both times.
Yeah.
In fact, we went back again because it was so good. And I told Jenny as I was eating this, I'm like, this is like no beef I've ever had before.
So tasty.
Oh,
I've said it many times. Horse meat makes the best gravy. I'm just going to say it.
This stroganoff had great gravy.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
So, I don't know. I don't feel bad.
No.
Maybe I don't.
You're there soaking up the culture. That's what they do.
Yeah, I guess it was delicious, and they were pretty great there too. It was one of those things that we've talked about before. They were just happy that people were there and eating and and having fun, and it was kind of a home style environment, but home style in a different way that I've ever experienced before. Kind of just like everybody's happy, everybody's family here, like Olive Garden times 10 kind of thing.
Except it's horse meat.
Except it's horse meat.
Whatever.
And some really good wine too, because man, my wine hangover the next day was pretty great.
Nothing worse than that.
Yep. So she should try horse, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's the
Dolan, you're the only one that hasn't had it, I guess.
I would try it. I really would. I would try horse, but I just don't think I think if it was already in front of me, prepared, I would try it. But I wouldn't condone the raising of horses for me. You know what I mean?
What if you knew the horse's name? Would that help or hurt?
It would hurt.
Yeah,
I think horses are one of those animals that are like just majestic as fuck.
Yes.
You know, so
Yep.
That's America right there. What Dolan just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it was prepared in front of me, you know, I wouldn't have any problems with it. I just think that I would have an issue with, you know, myself going about and raising a horse for meat, I guess.
Yeah.
My personal opinion, of course.
We are not condoning the use of horse meat in any type of cuisine.
I think that's how COVID started.
Well, that was the weird bat thing or
Oh,
whatever.
that's right.
Raccoon or whatever that thing was. Yeah. I survived. I thought it was fine. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. We made quite a trip today, fellas.
Woo! A couple of different continents here, right?
Yeah.
So I wondered about Untapped, and I didn't look it up until now, so I'm going to look it up. Do you think this might be one of the highest
numbers?
Maybe, yes.
No.
No?
Nope.
Liberty Ale. You know what? There are 4 Stone beers that come up before Liberty Ale comes up. That's weird. I don't know. It's pretty up there. 101,000 check-ins.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot, but Untapped's been around for almost 10 years. So that's
weird. Oh, this goes back to your roots in Untapped.
Probably.
You checked this in October 27th, 2012.
Oh, dang, yeah.
Wow.
8 years ago.
Yeah.
And then again on August 17th of 2014. Both the same. You weren't very generous during these years.
Well, I didn't know what I was doing.
Weird. You gave it a 3 both times.
Yeah, that was before I decided I would be happy and generous all the time.
I guess. Yeah, this is like pre. Because right now you would hate a beer and still give it a 3. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Huh. 101,000 check-ins. Where do you think this one lands?
3.81.
3.3.
3.48. You know, I can see it. It's not.
It doesn't knock your socks off.
No, but at the same time, dudes that are on this app are craft beer guys, right?
Yeah.
And so this is just a
beer.
It's just a beer,
yeah,
right?
It's not. There's nothing magical or added or anything, but that's kind of on purpose, you know.
Like I said, Uncle Larry would be very happy with this. He'd almost maybe think this was too fancy. Like,
I'd like this in a big mug, like a 25 ounce big mug.
Yeah.
I would drink that all day.
He might think this is a bit too much. He'd be like, "Whoa, I can't afford this fancy beer."
Give me something in the blue can.
It's like my father-in-law with Blue Moon. It's just too much for me. It's too craft. That's what he told me.
Blue Moon is too craft.
Too craft.
There's those folks out there, I guess.
Man, I guess so. So I'd go 3.5. I'd be fine with that. I don't see any. Yeah, not at all. As some of these go, you know, Yingling and Pale Ale from Sierra Nevada, like Boston Lager. If we're going to try to compare these to some of the mainstays that we've had in the past, some of the old school for us, maybe,
right? Yeah,
not old school like in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's right. It's right in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I like this one just for other reasons. Like the bottle shape is great. The story is great. It's an old school take on an IPA. I mean, it was the originator kind of. So I don't know. I like it. This is a beer I would have again and again. This is something I would probably keep if it was around. Yeah. It kind of technically is seasonal. They don't always make it. At least in Nebraska, we can't always get it. But when we do get it, it's in the summertime. So that's why those check-ins I had were summertime dates, I think.
Yep, they both were. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I guess I never really. Of course, my beer journey hasn't been as long as yours, and it's been. I mean, Dolan's has been even shorter, right? I mean, so it's just hasn't. We haven't had experience. We haven't had experiences with beers like this. necessarily until now.
That's what's fun about this show is trying things that are new and old for us, even like for America. That's an old brewery.
That's an old brewery. And it kind of honestly made me sad. And this will change obviously as kind of we come through what we're in right now. It's normally I'd give like the hours if you wanted to go and visit this brewery or whatever. Like you have to buy tickets to go to this to take the brewery tour. It's like $25 to go on this tour. I'd pay every cent of that to go do that.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Just because I bet
to see how different it looks.
Yeah,
it definitely is different. And if you have a chance to find that episode somewhere of the Brewdog show where they make the beer and they go here and like tour it and talk to the guy, check it out. It's well worth it just to see the differences of breweries back then to what we're at today.
To what we're at now. Yeah, man. I was I didn't know what to think, Brian, when you dropped these off, and I'm pretty happy with it. That one was a lot of fun.
Not bad.
No.
Good story, at least.
I liked it. I definitely think I'll be next year drinking this during the 4th of July over maybe the America, but just personal.
Yeah. Me too, Dolan.
Maybe. Well, Brian, we're not going anywhere for a while.
Let's have another beer.
Thank you for listening to A Beer with Atlas. Special thanks to our brand team for producing the show. Each episode of A Beer with Atlas is powered by Atlas MedStaff, an industry leader in travel healthcare staffing.